Ebelstein was a maze of jagged rooftops and suffocating alleyways, and rotting deep in its slums lived a crusty old geezer. The locals dubbed him the boastful elder. The guy was stuck at the bottom of the barrel with one-star magic, yet he strutted down the pavement like he owned the block, acting like royalty, sparking a pathetic flicker of blue light in his palm while shouting to anyone within earshot that he was a legendary archmage. His fuse was non-existent. If the neighborhood kids pulled even a harmless prank, he'd go nuclear, screaming and turning purple the second his patience shattered. Weirdly enough, Derek chose this lunatic as his mentor. It wasn't fate, just a transaction. The old man was desperate for an audience to stroke his ego, and Derek was starving for secrets. Night after night, under the twisted canopy of dark trees and lit by a dying campfire, the elder sat across from him, wagging a finger while he lectured, hammering the basics into the boy's skull. The fire crackled in the silence as time blurred, seasons shifting from winter frost to spring bloom. Bare branches eventually erupted into fresh greenery as the days grew warm, and listening turned into the grind. In a quiet clearing, Derek knelt in the dirt, lungs burning as he fought to stabilize his breathing. He planted his palms on the earth, a faint azure glow wrapping around his silhouette. Sweat dripped down his chin. As the internal energy finally clicked, moving exactly how the old man described, the teacher stared, jaw-dropping in total shock. Eyes popping out of his head, he muttered. Derek actually caught the mana flow. His voice trailed off, brain unable to process the impossible sight before him. The atmospheric pressure crushed down. Derek's vision snapped into high definition. His crimson eyes mirrored the swirling blue vortex. As the mana screamed at the breaking point, he wrestled it into submission, blasting it outward. Pure energy erupted from his hands in a violent arc, morphing into a blazing blue slash that ripped the air apart. The beam slammed into the target with a deafening boom, scattering sparks and debris as it carved a deep gash with terrifying force. Behind him, the old man stood paralyzed, absolutely floored by the raw talent he just witnessed. So despite the endless grunt work, and the geezer's constant nagging, Derek stayed on the grind. Within 12 months, he officially hit the rank of a one-star mage, but the nights were dark. Fueled by cheap booze, the old man would rant as if the universe had already rigged the game. He'd slur north of the wall, those noble brats hit 3-star power before they even hit puberty. He spat trash like us, a commoner like you could train until you die and never touch that level. He warned him to kill his ego, swearing that Derek's pitiful talent would hit a hard ceiling at 2-star, forcing him to quit. The old guy never shut up about genetics. He preached magic is in the blood, and he insisted hard work is a lie in the face of destiny. Derek just chewed his stale bread in silence, listening to the same toxic loop over and over, drawing an invisible line between the elites and the gutter rats. Sometimes Derek suspected the old man spewed that venom, because he was drowning in regret over his own failures. That night felt like an eternity. The old man passed out by the fading embers, but Derek sat awake, staring into the void as the fire died out. A torrential storm broke rain, hammering the earth until the whole world looked gray and cold. When the sun rose, the silence was deafening. The old man was gone, found sprawled in the mud, beaten to a bloody pulp. Derek stood over the corpse, soaked to the bone, assuming at first that the geezer had picked a bar fight and lost. But then the truth came out. The city guards had crushed him after catching him, trying to heist a grimoire, a manual for 2-star magic. Derek couldn't wrap his head around it. Why would the man who preached about limits throw his life away trying to break them? Nobody had an answer. The boastful elder had drilled the bloodline rule into Derek until it was tattooed on his soul. But here's the twist. Derek wasn't bound by noble blood. Why? Because he wasn't even from this dimension. Ding. A holographic blue screen flashed. Derek has mastered the basics. Select your primary magic class now. It warned, this choice is permanent. Flash forward 4 years. Enter Katya Flameheart. She crashed into Derek's life, former lady of the ruined Viscount house, born noble and a legit 3-star mage. Every mercenary crew in Ebelstein was scrambling to recruit her. She signed with the Belden Mercenary Company, taking Derek under her wing, while he was still just a rookie 1-star mage. From Katya, Derek unlocked the high-level strats only a noble could teach. At the Beldren's Tears Tavern, she told him, it's only natural for a mage to hunger for power, she noted. And you, Derek, you've got that spark. But she dropped a warning. Too much greed will only kill your momentum. Derek nodded, loud and clear. I won't forget it. Katya commanded him to close his eyes and tune into the energy. She said, calm your mind. Feel the source. Trace the flow and visualize exactly what you want to unleash. Derek sat statue still as the air around him began to hum with blue power. Sweat beads on his forehead focused razor sharp. Watching him like a hawk, Katya notes that he is definitely packing a massive reserve of raw mana. She figures his combat history keeps his control steady, but then bam, the energy spikes hard, flooding Derek's senses until his eyes snap wide open from the pressure. Katya's face drops instantly. Before she can move, a sonic boom rips through the tavern, shaking the walls. Mercenaries scramble up, adrenaline pumping, screaming and demanding to know what just went down. Someone yells enemy raid and orders the crew to secure the perimeter. Derek stares at the faint steam curling off his hands. Panic hits him. He looks up sharply. Master. Katya snatches his wrist. Zip it. Just follow my lead. Outside, armed guards are on high alert, and one guy mutters that he definitely heard a blast. He warns the squad to stay frosty and check the area, because that was 100% an explosion. Katya hustles Derek down a tight alley, heading toward the streetlights. Master. Derek calls out uneasy. Katya spins around, eyes cold. Listen to every word I'm about to say. Derek nods. Understood, Katya explains. Nobles guard their privileges like hawks. And magic, that is the ultimate VIP pass. She warns that innate power is treated like a blessing, but only if you have blue blood. For a commoner to hit the 3-star rank, that is almost unheard of, she says. Usually takes a lifetime of grinding to get there. She points at him. But what you just pulled off, that was a 2-star illusion spell. Auditory hallucination. Derek freezes cold sweat, hitting him as it sinks in. Ding text flashes in his vision. Access to 2-star magic unlocked. Acquired auditory hallucination. That moment at 14 changed everything. He was officially a 2-star mage. Katya keeps him close after that, drilling him on spells and dropping stories about the high society life she left behind. A year flies by like that. But eventually Katya has to bounce. The Count Elvester family hired her as a private tutor. We are talking about a house under Margrave Elvester, a name even the Grand Duke in the capital does not mess with. Zero chance she could say no to that. Landing a gig as a magic instructor for a noble house like that is a golden ticket. Before splitting, she hands Derek a 2-star grimoire. A blue system window pops up and confirms the loot. Magic list acquired. Combat magic mana arrow, full power manifestation, and fireball. Conversion magic light creation. Illusion magic sound barrier and auditory hallucination. Summoning guide fairy. Detection direction sense. Derek sits there, the book, heavy in his hands. Head down, grinding until the magic is etched into his bones. Another year burns away, and Derek teaches himself. 2 more spells. 16 years old, and he tells himself, I am not stopping here. Cut to now. Beldrin's Tears Tavern. A guy with shoulders like a linebacker leans over the counter, grinning. Finally got a real gig after this dry spell. Derek raises an eyebrow. What kind of gig? The guy's grin widens. Request comes straight from the Grand Duke Dupin family. You get how huge that is, right? Derek blinks, repeating the name like he heard it wrong. Why would they hire us? The man snaps. Who cares? It is Dupin. These guys bleed gold. We nail this connection and we are set for life. Derek is not buying the hype. Okay, but what is the actual request? Nothing crazy, the man shrugs. Just hunting down some monsters on the outskirts. That is it, the man nods hard. Nobles do not lie about this stuff. Derek rubs his chin, frowning. Something stinks. Why would a powerhouse like Dupin need hired guns for pest control? Derek stands up. Pass. Find someone else. The man lunges, grabbing at him. Wait, just listen. Derek shakes him off. I told you I do not do shady work. Fine, I would do it myself, the guy snaps. But we need a mage. Mages are scarce these days, he complains, pointing a finger at Derek. You are the only option we have got. That is why I am asking you. Derek looks down, unimpressed. I do not get it. Why do you need magic for a standard hunt? Without a good reason, I am walking. The guy barks orders, flipping a single gold coin into the air. He shouts that it is 1 Adele gold coin, but quickly adds a disclaimer, it isn't the full payout, just the down payment. Derek catches the coin, letting it sit cold in his palm, his face turning into a stone mask. Moments later, the entourage rolls up. An old guy rocking a monocle and a mustache sharp enough to cut glass. A lady dressed to kill by his side and a mystery woman in a hood face totally blacked out by shadow. The big guy points at them, nudging Derek to show some respect, introducing them as the VIP clients. Monocle guy scans Derek from head to toe and shakes his head. This is a joke, he scoffs, calling Derek a literal child who hasn't even hit puberty yet. He claims he had high hopes after hearing rumors about the Dawn war hero, but now he clicks his tongue in disgust, complaining that sending a kid on a gig like this is completely unacceptable. The big guy starts freaking out, waving his hands like a windmill, begging him to reconsider. He is the real deal. Best mage I know, period, he insists, desperate to save the contract. Monocle guy spins around, ready to walk. We're done here, he declares, stating that this mission is way too heavy for a toddler. But at the door, the butler freezes. The woman next to him leans in, whispering something urgent. His face tightens as he looks back. Meanwhile, the hooded girl stays put, watching in silence, face still hidden. She turns to Derek. You, Derek, she asks. We need to talk. Cut to the Grand Duchy of Duplan. Outskirts. Screech. A goblin launches an ambush. Derek steps up, zero hesitation. Shing. One flash of his blade cuts the monster clean in half. Blood mist sprays the air, and the body parts fly sideways before hitting the dirt. Another goblin tries a sneak attack from the rear. Derek pivots, strikes. dropping it before it can even touch him. The swarm rushes in. Derek powers up. Blue mana crackles around him, lashing out like lightning whips, binding the goblins instantly. Electric light blinds the scene as their limbs lock up and they freeze, one by one. Derek looks back over his shoulder, cool as ice. Done, he tells the dispatch officer. The officer crosses his arms. Got it. The hooded girl smirks under her cloak. He captured the whole pack, she notes. Insanely fast. Flashback to Beldrin's Tears Tavern. A blonde girl goes nuclear screaming that Derek is a total sellout, a noble's lapdog. She screams his name, storming over and trying to climb onto a table. The big guy panics. Get down, he hisses. We got customers watching, she snaps back, yelling that even if they are broke commoners, they shouldn't lower themselves to serving snobby nobles. She demands the price tag, accusing Derek of throwing away his dignity to crawl between a rich guy's legs. Derek cuts her off cold. Crawling wasn't in the contract. The blonde blinks. So how much? Don't tell me it was just a silver coin. The big guy shakes his head, then breaks into a massive grin. 1. Gold. Coin. Her face transforms. She screams in pure joy. Let me crawl. I'll crawl for days. The big guy snaps at her to shut up, yelling that crawling is definitely not required. Later that night, the blonde is passed out on a table, drooling all over the wood. The big guy asks for the debrief. Derek shrugs. Nothing crazy. He says just bagged a few goblins. The big guy sighs about the bad first impression, but notes the client seemed loaded. Derek nods, then drops a bomb. They were lying. All 3 of them. The big guy stares, serious. Derek goes Sherlock mode. A noble's dispatch officer needs youth stamina and social skills. That guy had none of it. And the woman claiming to be a maid, her hands were softer than silk. She's never done manual labor in her life. He starts analyzing the supposed apprentice inspector. 2. The big guy cuts him off. Derek, stop. He reminds him that mercenaries don't ask questions. We do the job, we take the cash. That's it. Derek replies, understood. He figures Jaden is right. Out here in the wild, survival is the only law. Everything else is just noise. Next day, Duplain Grand Duchy. Derek reports the zone is clear, and goblins won't be respawning anytime soon. Monocle guy nods. Solid work. Jaden cuts straight to business. The rest of the money. When the coins come out, Jaden's eyes go anime sparkle mode. He shows them off, shouting, 2 gold coins, totally losing his mind over the loot. Derek sighs. Put that away. Act professional. Monocle guy clears his throat. I value your skills, kid. He admits saying he has another gig for him. Jaden looks confused. The man drops the bombshell. The Grand Duke's estate pays 15 Adele gold coins for this one. Jaden's brain melts at the number, and the man looks at Derek. You and Derek nods. I'm in. The carriage rolls out. Next stop, Duplain Manor. Standing inside the Grand Duchy, Jaden gawks at the massive estate, muttering about how absolutely insane the scale of the place is. Before they can step inside, the monocle-wearing guy stops cold, deciding it is time for a proper introduction. Jaden totally freaks out at the sudden vibe switch, waving his hands frantically and insisting they've already been through the trenches together, so there is no need to be weird and stiff. The man ignores the protest, announcing his name is Dylan, the chief steward, running the entire Grand Duke's show. Before apologizing for keeping his identity under wraps, due to the sensitive nature of his gig, Jaden stammers, completely shook by the realization that their clients are top-tier nobility. Suddenly, a woman steps up, introducing herself as Katarina the Head, maid of the estate. Scrambling to match the energy, Jaden hastily introduces himself as the leader of the Beldern Mercenary Company. Derek observes from the sidelines, realizing these 2 were never just some random dispatch officer and a kitchen helper, but the chief steward and the head maid. He tells himself he kind of figured, but their actual ranks are way higher than he anticipated. The hooded woman glides forward, the hem of her dress whispering against the stone floor. Derek shifts his gaze toward her, the puzzle pieces clicking into place. If the staff are this elite, then she has to be the main character here. The hood is pulled back, cascading hair spilling out as she reveals her face. She announces that she is Aislinn Eleanor Dupain and declares she wants to hire Derek as the magic tutor for her little sister Diella. Aislinn Eleanor Dupain, the eldest daughter of the high-ranking Dupain family, locks eyes with Derek, sealing the request with a heavy stare. The Grand Duchy of Dupain rises up in pale stone and razor-sharp spires, an army of servants and guards moving in perfect silent rhythm under the vast sky. But inside the walls, Reg bursts into an office shouting for his father and Valerian to witness the disaster. The man behind the desk shoots him a death glare, demanding to know what Reg thinks he is doing and barking at him to have some dignity. Reg snaps back that the one needing a reality check isn't him but Diella, screaming that she has crossed the line and is now physically assaulting the staff he personally hired. A maid trembles in the corner, tears streaming down her face. Valerian cuts in, telling Reg to keep it down since they are in the middle of something. Reg refuses to chill, ranting that over 10 servants quit last month alone, accusing the sister of smashing objects. whenever she throws a tantrum. He demands to know how long his father is going to keep ignoring the elephant in the room. Valerian's patience snaps. He barks Reg's name. Reg's voice drops to a cold, deadly calm, arguing that even if Diella is a total waste of space, they still have Iselin. He drops the bomb. It is time to cut Diella loose. His father shuts that down instantly, growling that it is not Reg's call to make. Reg pushes his luck anyway, mentioning he already had the steward scout out a monastery. He insists the facilities are top-notch, and plenty of noble kids get sent there. He argues that instead of living her life treated like a massive burden, it would be way better for Diella to dedicate herself to God. He adds that if keeping her here is going to drag the family reputation through the mud, then it is better to boom. His father moves faster than sight, slamming Reg down with crushing force. He hisses that he already told him this isn't his decision, repeating Reg's name like a final warning before things get ugly. Reg lies frozen under the grip. He finally whispers that when the moment of truth comes, his father has to be the one to pull the trigger. Later, Derek strolls down the hallway with Iselin. She asks if he has ever heard rumors about her younger sister Diella. Derek admits he saw Lady Diella's name in the family files. Iselin nods, admitting that Diella is practically a ghost to the public eye. A heavy door swings open with a thud, revealing Valerian and Reg stepping out. Iselin stammers out Valerian's name. Valerian steps into the light, greeting her and noting it has been a hot minute. He asks how life in Ebelstein has been treating her. Iselin replies that thanks to his support, she has been living the good life. Valerian side-eyes Reg, noticing his brother looks wrecked, and suggests they catch up later. Iselin agrees. Derek watches in silence, his sharp gaze analyzing the tension as the vibes get weird. Valerian stands next to Reg, pressing a cloth to Reg's head like he is wiping away sweat or trying to keep him from exploding, both of them staring ahead with masks of restraint. Derek watches from the periphery, his glowing red eyes narrowing, as he clocks the thick tension in the air. A maid stands nearby, hunched over and shaking, face buried in her hands as she sobs. Inside the Grand Duke's office, the man sits with perfect icy posture, saying he is relieved to hear she thrived in Ebelstein. She responds that it is all thanks to her father. Smiling gently, she introduces Derek as the magic tutor she scouted from Ebelstein, explaining he is ready to take charge of Diella. The Grand Duke sizes Derek up and gives a curt nod of approval. Iselin stands, noting that since her father looks swamped, they will get out of his hair. She turns to leave with Derek trailing half a step behind like a loyal shadow. Just as he reaches the door, the Grand Duke's voice cuts through the air like a blade. Stay. Derek freezes at the threshold. He shoots a guarded glance over his shoulder, then goes dead silent. The Duke doesn't even look up, just keeps his head down, pen scratching rhythmically against the paper. Finally, the Duke locks eyes with him, his gaze piercing. You're young, he notes, his tone calculating. 16 right. Yes, sir. Derek doesn't flinch. The Duke leans back, studying him. Can you sling spells? How decent is your magic? Just a bit, Derek lies smoothly. 1-star level. A low chuckle rumbles from the Duke's chest. Don't play dumb with me, kid. False modesty isn't a virtue in this house. Derek's expression doesn't crack a perfect poker face. Inside, his mind is racing. The Grand Duke is a 5-star mage. Playing the humble servant won't work on a powerhouse like him. My apologies if I seemed disrespectful. Derek pivots, keeping his voice steady. Forget it, the Duke waves a hand dismissively. I know why you keep your guard up. Too much talent at a young age. It eats you alive if you're not careful. The Duke sweeps a gaze over him. Looking at your fit, you're definitely no professor. Derek nods. I'm a mercenary. Well, Aislinn picked you, so I won't grill you further. He signs a pass. You have access to the annex. That's Diella's territory. A maid will take you there. Get going. Derek plants his feet, refusing to move. Wait. One request. Speak, the Duke commands. I'm a merc, Derek starts, voice hardening. When I take a commission, I finish it. Lady Aislinn paid me to make sure Lady Diella masters magic and acts like a proper high society noble. Tell me something I don't know, the Duke scoffs, unimpressed. I'm saying this because I need you to agree to something first. The Duke's eyes narrow, his curiosity finally piqued. Crash. Somewhere else in the mansion, fine china explodes against a wall, shards flying across the room like shrapnel. The maid lets out a terrified shriek, dropping to her knees and shaking like a leaf. I'm sorry, please. Forgive me, Miss Diella, but Diella just towers over her eyes, colder than absolute zero. You're an idiot. You think a pathetic sorry fixes this. With my status, she points to the door violently. Get out of my face, now. If I see you again, the next plate is aiming straight for your lowly head. Back in the waiting room, the tea goes cold as Jaden loses it. Why him? Why Derek? We should have elite tutors lining up around the block, a commoner teaching a noble. That's a joke. Aislinn looks down, defeated. I tried Jaden. I hired every famous master on the continent. They all quit. That's why I went rogue. I needed a magic user who was desperate enough to stick around. He's a mercenary, sure, but from what I've seen, he actually understands our world, the etiquette, the culture. Yeah, Jaden admits begrudgingly. His mentor was a fallen noble back in the day, taught him the ropes. Derek probably soaked up all that high society knowledge from him. Aislinn smiles softly. He seemed gentle, refined. I thought maybe he could actually handle Diella without snapping. Jaden lets out a dry, cynical laugh. Lady Aislinn, you need to stop looking at the world through rose-colored glasses. What she blinks confused. Derek is a street rat, Jaden states flatly. A child soldier. He was killing for money before he hit puberty. Do you really think someone like that survives by being kind? Aislinn goes quiet, the realization hitting her. Meanwhile, Derek marches down the hallway, calm and collected. He stops at a massive, imposing door. He raises a gloved hand, pauses for a heartbeat, then knock knock. Silence. He grabs the handle and pushes into the room. Greetings, he announces, stepping inside. I'm Derek. Pardon the intrusion. A silhouette sits by the bright window. Come closer, a voice commands. She turns sunlight, catching her hair like a halo. Meet Diella Catherine Dupain, the second daughter of the house. Derek takes a step, his cloak swooping behind him. Diella watches him, a nasty smirk curling her lips. Splash. Out of nowhere, a bucket of ice-cold water arcs through the air and slams into Derek's chest. He's drenched, hair-matted cloak heavy. He freezes water dripping off his jaw and lets out a long, controlled breath. Without missing a beat, Diella gasps, covering her mouth in mock horror. Oh my god, that's terrible. I thought a sewer rat scurried in. She tilts her head, eyes gleaming. Wait, are you that mercenary the steward talked about? Actually. Looking closer, maybe you are a rat. She steps onto her chair, looming over him in her blood-red dress. She dumps a second bucket right on his head. Here's a welcome gift, remind you of the gutter you crawled out of. She sneers that the filth of the gutter is a serious upgrade for his look. Murky water trails down Derek's, soaked hair dripping from his lashes like tears he refuses to shed. He takes it like a statue, eyes glued to the floor, absolute silence. Diella peeks into the bucket, realizes it's empty, and whines that her little torture session ran dry way too fast, calling it a total buzzkill and a waste of her time. Derek finally breaks character, shifting his gaze upward, and Diella's smirk falters as a tiny gasp escapes her lips. Her face twists into pure malice the second his eyes lock onto hers. She doesn't hesitate, she stomps him straight into the mud, snapping that a piece of trash like him has zero right to look her in the eye. She towers over him, a tyrant, in a blood-red dress, chin held high. She rips off her high heel, muttering in disgust that he smells like a rotting corpse, pinching her nose as she watches the sewage pool around him. She hurls the shoe right at him before planting herself in his face, demanding he memorize his station in life, branding him a sewer rat. She laughs off the insane idea of him teaching her anything, spitting that the streets clearly failed to teach him basic survival instincts. Cut to the Grand Duke's office, a room heavy with the scent of old paper and serious power. Sunlight slices across the mahogany desk as the Duke replays the meeting. Derek stands before the most powerful man in the house and states plainly that his presence here proves Lady Diella is a nightmare no one else can fix. He looks the Duke in the eye and asks, "You love her more than anyone, so I need to know. How much power are you giving me? How far can I go?" To fix her, the Grand Duke doesn't flinch, but his gaze sharpens into a blade as the weight of the request settles in. Flash forward to Diella's room, the air shatters with a sickening crack. Diella's head snaps back violently, a crimson handprint blooming on her cheek as pure shock floods her vision. She collapses to the carpet, totally stunned, hand trembling as it hovers over the impact zone. Derek looms over her, a silhouette of cold judgment, his red eyes void of mercy. He looks down at the fallen princess and commands her to stand. Flashback 3 years ago. A wagon creaks down a dusty road. Derek sits with his mentor, calling her teacher, and asks a hypothetical. What happens when you get a student who spits on kindness? A hopeless case. She pauses, watching the scenery roll by, and claims she'd try to understand them, embrace their flaws, and bring them in. Derek challenges her, asking if that isn't just a fairy tale. Then he drops the real question. What would you do with a monster I can't reach, with hugs and words? She replies that teaching is about guiding a soul to the light, but admits that if communication fails, if understanding hits a dead end, you have to find a new starting line. Derek presses her. What kind of starting line? She looks him dead in the eye. You carve fear into their bones. Back in the room, Diella's pupils dilate as Derek moves again. Another sharp crack whips through the air. Diella hits the floor, hard cheek burning, clutching her face in absolute disbelief. Derek stands over her like a judge, passing sentence, declaring that from now on she will treat people with basic human decency. He warns her that he doesn't do reruns. Don't make him say it twice. Get up. Diella scrambles to her feet, shaking with humiliation and rage, and throws a wild punch, her fist thudding into his cheek. She's trembling, screaming, "How dare a peasant touch me?" She starts shrieking about his audacity, but she gets cut off by another brutal slap. Derek stares down at her and reminds her coldly he said he wouldn't repeat himself. He reiterates the law when dealing with others, she will show respect. Diella's mouth twitches into a broken, crazy smile, letting out a confused whimper. Then she snaps, spinning around and screaming for the Grand Steward, screeching that This filth just put his hands on a noblewoman. The chief steward bursts in maids, trailing like frightened birds. He frantically checks if Lady Diella is alive, then whips around to glare at Derek, demanding an explanation for this insanity. He roars that Derek has signed his own death warrant by touching the young lady, warning that once the Duke hears this, Derek calmly holds up a sealed scroll and drops the bomb his grace has signed over absolute authority regarding Miss Diella's correction. He adds that the Duke explicitly permitted any method necessary. The chief steward turns pale as he reads the seal, and Diella stares at the paper like it's a ghost. Night settles over the Duplan estate. Rig grabs Valerian's arm in the hallway, begging him to cool his jets. But Valerian is seeing red storming forward, shouting that Derek is the mercenary scum responsible. Derek sits inside, silent as a grave, eyes barely lifting. Valerian bursts in, lunging with murderous intent, screaming about Derek laying a finger on Diella, while Rig hangs onto him for dear life, pleading for him to drop the weapon and talk. Derek turns his head coolly, stating it was all sanctioned by the Duke. Rig wrestles Valerian back, reminding him Derek is a guest. Aisling warned them if Valerian causes a scene, it blows back on Aisling's reputation. Rig adds the final nail. Father approved it. Valerian's jaw clenches so hard it might crack as he swallows his rage. Valerian points a shaking finger at Derek and orders him to follow. He snaps at Rig to back off and go handle his own business. Rig walks beside Derek for a moment, whispering that he heard the news, and frankly admits that Diella needed a reality check. A beating might actually fix her. He tells Derek to relax, assuring him Valerian won't kill him. Derek glances back over his shoulder, his red eyes burning steady, completely unbothered by the chaos. Valerian strides down the hallway, leaving Rag staring daggers at his back. Rag scoffs, muttering under his breath. He can't wrap his head around why Valerian plays bodyguard for that hopeless case. Cut to a creepy, dimly lit room where a lone doll sits stiffly on the floor, bathed in a sliver of weak light. Valerian pushes a door open and beckons Derek inside. This was Diella's sanctuary, he says, stepping into the space Diella occupied, back when she was still welcome in the main house. It's frozen in time. Derek walks into the chill air, scanning the half-finished canvases and dried paint splatters. She used to love art. Valerian murmurs softly. He recalls how she'd turned tomato red whenever he asked to see her work. She was honestly adorable back then. But there was a catch. She never actually finished anything. She'd leave massive blank voids on the canvas, obsessing only over the tiny details she liked. Valerian pauses, the nostalgia fading. My bad for snapping earlier. He admits, rubbing his necks. I let my emotions drive. Derek shrugs it off, eyeing the abandoned art, and asks what the point of this tour is. Valerian needs him to understand Diella wasn't born a villain, deserving of hate or abuse. But somewhere along the line, she got twisted by this toxic obsession with her bloodline. It destroyed her, he says. She got kicked out of the main house and locked in the annex like a prisoner. He can't even pinpoint what triggered the change. We have to save her from the monastery, Valerian insists. If she masters even one-star magic, I can force Father to listen. He grabs Derek's shoulders, desperate, pleading, please just save her. Derek stops breathing for a second. Hold on, he says, flipping open a dusty book. She hasn't totally quit. He taps the pages, margins crammed with frantic notes. Derek points to the stacks and asks, are these all theory texts from the School of Regulations? Valerian nods, confused. Yeah. Nobles study that curriculum. Derek snaps the book, shut eyes, narrowing as the gears turn. All right, he says, a plan forming. I'll give it a shot. Darkness swallows the annex. Diella is dead asleep, hair sprawled over her pillow, breathing easy, completely clueless. Derek looms over her, bucket in hand. No hesitation, splash, ice-cold water hits her like a truck. Diella wakes up, screaming, thrashing around in the soaked sheets like she's drowning. Derek stares down coldly and mocks. Seriously, you're sleeping, Diella gasps, wiping water from her eyes, choking out. What the hell? Are you insane? She shrieks. Derek doesn't waste time explaining. He grabs her arm. Get up. We're going somewhere. Let go of me. Diella goes feral, fighting his grip. You have no right to touch me. Are you crazy? She screams that he's hurting her, ordering him to back off, insisting she isn't going anywhere. A maid in the hallway spots the chaos and yells at Derek. Stop right there, you lowborn trash. What are you doing? But Derek ignores the NPC. Under the freezing moonlight, he drags Diella outside, not slowing down for a second. Her nightgown drags through the dirt as she struggles to keep up. She stumbles, and he ruthlessly yanks her forward until she eats dirt, crying out as she hits the ground hard. Diella looks up, face wet with tears and rage. What is wrong with you? What does this prove? Wake up, she snaps. Who do you think you are trying to teach me? Derek cuts her off, voice dropping an octave. You don't want to listen. Fine. Here's a fun fact. Diella freezes, sensed the shift in the air. Honestly, I have zero intention of teaching you magic, Derek says flatly. I just really like beating up stuck-up nobles. Diella flinches. What? Derek leans in. Don't you agree? Why would someone from the gutter, like you people, this tutor gig, Just an excuse. A free pass to beat on arrogant, high and mighty brats like you. His hand hovers over his sword hilt, fingers twitching like he's about to draw. You know, he whispers, the screams of noble people sound the prettiest. Diela's heart stops. You think you'll get away with this, she stammers. Of course I will, Derek laughs darkly. You're getting shipped off to a monastery anyway. Who's gonna believe a word you say? His eyes go cold. Worst case scenario, I apologize with my life. A commoner's life is cheap, right? Or I could just bolt. People will forget a nobody like me in a week. Hell, I'd be doing the family a favor by taking out the trash. The blood drains from Diela's face. He's going to kill me, she realizes. Pure instinct kicks in. She scrambles up and sprints across the grass, dress whipping in the wind. Run, she tells herself, terror spiking. If he catches me now, I'm dead. Straight shot across the grass, suicide mission. He'd snag her in a heartbeat. The forest, that's her only play to lose him. She knows those woods like the back of her hand. Lose him in the trees, circle back home. Easy. Adrenaline kicks in. Eyes wide with pure terror, she flips the script. He's the one going down tonight. Suddenly, the air behind her gets scorching hot. Diela flinches as the night lights up. She glances back and sees a massive swirling inferno tearing through the shadows. Wait, a fireball. Panic hits her like a truck. That is 2-star magic. This guy is not playing around. How is this jerk wielding 2-star spells? The flaming orb plummets like a miniature sun crashing to earth, slamming into the ground inches away, bathing the tree line in blinding light and searing heat. Diela shrieks as the shockwave hits. The fireball goes critical, blasting a geyser of dirt and sparks everywhere. She gets ragdolled through the air, heat scorching her skin. She hits the dirt, rolling eyes wild and trembling. Through the smoke, she spots Derek wearing a cocky little smirk. He shrugs. Whoops, missed. Diela scrambles to her feet and sprints, hammering through the wet grass, teeth clenched, pushing past the pain. But her footing slips, she crashes down onto her hands, knees slamming into the earth with a groan. Suddenly, a jagged blue streak thunders into the ground next to her, with a sickening crack. Her head snaps up. She is gasping for air as another blue bolt shreds the turf, spraying dirt in her face. Derek's voice cuts through the gloom. You're fast, he calls out. Honestly, hard to believe that kind of speed. Comes from a girl locked in her room all day. Diela shoots him a look of pure rage before diving into the tree line. Her mind is spiraling. How much longer can she keep this up? Is escape even on the table anymore? At this pace, she is toast. Behind her, Derek takes a knee cool and calculated, and presses a glowing palm to the earth. Mana ripples out like a stone dropped in a pond. He scans the canopy, and realizes this forest. It is exactly like the one in her paintings. This is her turf. She has been running these trails since she was a kid. Without even knowing it, she was soaking up the mana of the wild, and pouring it into her art. This is definitely. Suddenly, Diela spins around, with a primal scream, heaving a massive rock overhead, and bringing it down with everything she has got. Derek draws his blade in a blur, and slices the rock clean in half. Diela freezes, eyes popping out of her head. Derek steps closer, sword relaxed at his side. Gotta admire the guts, he says. You knew you couldn't outrun me, so you chose to fight. That took nerve. Diela collapses, gasping on all fours, trembling as she tries to stand. Derek looks down, pitying. You are done. The tank is empty. He points his steel right at her throat. Any last words? Diela lets out a jagged, bitter laugh. You think I am gonna beg, she spits. Please. Unlike some common trash. I don't grovel. Just end it. Derek lowers the sword a fraction. What is your deal with bloodlines anyway? Diela turns away, shoulders shaking. It is all I have. If you strip away my noble blood, what is left of me? She curls into a ball, rocking back and forth. Magic. It is magic. Tears stream down her face. You think I didn't try? She claws at the dirt, nails breaking. I tried so hard, it never works. If I get weeded out. Magic painting. If I am second rate at everything, I lose everything. She whispers, broken. If I am not noble, then what am I? She collapses into sobs. Derek watches silent. Suddenly blue mana crackles along his blade. He raises it high. Heard enough. Goodbye. Swish. The blade creates a sharp blue arc cutting through the night air. Then, jagged shards of ice explode from the ground. They bloom upward, encasing Diela in a crystalline cage. Her eyes go wide as the cold light traps her, and she stares at her hands as they are alien artifacts. Trembling, she breathes out magic. Derek lowers his weapon, hand over his heart, bowing. Well done, Lady Diela. Forgive the theatrics. It might just be raw mana manifestation, rather than structured spells. But you still did it. Diela gasps, a choked sound stuck in her throat. The cold reality hits. Panic washes over her face and she screams until her voice breaks inside her ice prison. Later, under the moonlight, Derek sits beside her. This means one thing. You belong to the School of the Wild. Diela blinks confused. The School of the… what? Derek nods, confirming her suspicions. He admits most high society types stick to the rigid path of the school of regulations. But here's the kicker. At the core, magic is magic. The destination is the same, but the road trip to get there, totally different vibes. Diella steels herself as he drops the truth bomb. She belongs to the school of the wild, trying to learn via the regulations playbook. That was a recipe for disaster. It wasn't just like wearing an ugly outfit that doesn't match her style. It was like trying to force herself into a corset, 3 sizes too small, suffocating, and impossible. She stares him down, eyes intense. How did you clock me? How did you know? Derek's answer is simple: the art. He saw how she captured the mana, drifting through the trees on her canvas. Mages with the wild temperament. They have a built-in radar for nature's energy from childhood. Diella freezes, her face stiff, tears threatening to spill, but her gaze remains locked on him. Derek cuts the pity party short. That's enough. You can walk now, right? Diella tests her legs, finding her center. She balances silently, wobbly, but she's not face-planting. Derek pivots, throwing a casual comment over his shoulder. You unlocked your mana. Congrats. But you're basically a toddler. Starting tomorrow, I'll teach you to flow with it naturally. Diella calls out to him, pauses, then swallows her pride to mutter a thank you. Derek doesn't make a big deal of it, just signals for them to move. Diella blurts out, "Wait up," and scrambles to catch his stride. Under the moonlight, he brings up that sunset painting. Was that your work? Diella gets wistful. I don't know. It's been ages since I actually picked up a brush. Well, Derek says it was fire. Beautifully done. Diella's icy exterior melts a little. It was my masterpiece. She whispers, adding that he's the first person to actually see it was finished. Cut to morning sunshine flooding the room. Diella wakes up choosing violence, magical violence. She tries to summon that power again. A tiny swirl flickers at her fingertips, and she groans. Ugh, harder than it looks. Cue the door opening and a maid walking in with a water bucket, who gets so spooked she screams, trips, and unleashes a tidal wave right onto Diella's pajamas. Total panic mode. The maid starts stammering, apologies, terrified. Diella just stands there, dripping wet and glaring. The maid hits the deck, on hands and knees begging for her life. Diella sighs. Just watch where you're going. The maid short-circuits, wait, no punishment. She crawls backward, traumatized by the lack of abuse. Other maids swarm in. You alive? Did she hit you? No. The maid whispers, shook. She just told me to be careful. The staff is confused what happened to the wicked lady last night. While Diella marches down the hall, ignoring the drama, Derek is dead to the world, face buried in a pillow. Bang bang, a sharp voice drills into his skull. He groans, sits up looking like a zombie, and rubs his eye. What now? It's Dylan standing next to Diella, scolding her. My lady, manners. This is inappropriate. Diella ignores the lecture. Teach me. The mana, I manifested it, but I can't control it. I tried on my own, but it's glitching. Dylan's jaw hits the floor. He processes the words, she manifested mana. Diella plays the you promised card on Derek. Hurry up and teach me. Dylan intervenes. My lady, let's come back this afternoon, and tries to herd her away. As they retreat, Dylan is practically crying tears of joy. She actually did it. Diella is not having it. She spins around, furious. Excuse you. Who do you think you are, ordering me around? She pounds on Derek's door again. Open up. Class is in session now, Derek. Completely over it, just flops back onto the mattress while the banging continues. Outside, the Duplain estate is waking up. Majestic roofs gleaming under a crisp sky. In the corridors, the maids are scrubbing floors and spilling tea figuratively. Yo, did you hear the rumor? One whispers. Lady Diella didn't smash a single plate today. For real? Another replies, hyped. She got soaked with water and didn't even throw hands. The first maid leans in, dropping the bomb. And get this, people are saying she unlocked her magic. No way, gasps all around. Suddenly, heavy footsteps freeze the conversation. Reich turns the corner, looking intense. What did you just say? Cut to the Grand Duke's office. Reich and Valerian sit across from the Duke. The air is thick enough to choke on. The Duke reviews the report, voice steady. So Diella manifested magic. Valerian nods, all business. Confirmed. I triple-checked with the head butler and staff. The Grand Duke exhales. Relief. Reich, however, stays salty. Let's not jump to conclusions. Just because she sparked a little magic. Valerian snaps back. Reich, that's your sister. Show some respect and praise her. The Grand Duke goes silent, eyes unreadable, and just keeps writing. The tension in the room screams volumes. Ray isn't letting this go. He digs up every past mistake she's made, insisting that this one tiny win isn't enough to cancel her one-way ticket to the convent. The Duke remains a statue, his expression unreadable. Cut to Diella's room. Sunlight slices through the window, highlighting dancing dust motes. She's curled up on the bed in her signature red dress, hugging her knees tight to her chest. Derek looms nearby, face blank, and asks if she's in a mood. Diella snaps back. She's not sulking, she's furious. Derek counters that, acting all spiteful like that won't change the reality. Diella doubles down. She's not being spiteful, she's just genuinely ticked off. Derek sighs. Even if she keeps moping, their hands are tied. There's a proper order to things. Diella spins around, face flushed crimson. She screams that she is not pouting. She already said she's angry. Derek just stares at her, dead silent. Diella grinds her teeth, practically vibrating before spitting out. Fine, call it pouting. Derek tilts his head, thrown off by the sudden 180. He drags a chair over, cracking open a book. He warns her just because she unlocked magic doesn't mean she can go spamming spells, or it'll blow up in her face. He knows he's lived it. He emphasizes that recharging is just as crucial as grinding, and since she's rested plenty, it's study time. Diella crosses her arms and rolls her eyes, muttering that, of course, the boring magic tutor would say that. She drips with sarcasm as she announces the stiff lecture is officially in session. The vibe instantly drops. Shadows lengthen as Derek's red eyes narrow, filling the room with crushing pressure. He asks if she'd prefer a hands-on lesson instead. The image of last night's massive fireball flashes in her mind, and she flinches. She backpedals fast, huffing that she takes it back. Derek kills the menacing aura and raises a hand. Totally chill again, he announces today's agenda, practicing magic manifestation. He explains that, once she masters the flow, she unlocks one-star spells. He explains that the School of the Wild ditches rigid systems, making it perfect for self-teaching. It's all about freedom, unlike the strict school of regulations. Then he drops a truth bomb. She's actually a perfect fit for the wild style. Diella's scowl wavers. She shoots him a guarded look, asking what the heck that's supposed to mean. Derek locks eyes with her and says it's exactly what it sounds like. Her chaotic, free-spirited vibe has high compatibility with their methods. Plus, with that Dupline blood in her veins, she's absolutely stacked with raw talent. Diella's eyes go wide. She stammers, "Wait, is he actually calling her talented?" Derek nods. If she can summon an ice wall the second she awakens magic. Yeah, that's the definition of overflowing talent. Diella beams totally shook. So, does that make her a genius? Derek cuts in having talent and being a genius are two very different things. Diella snaps back that it's basically the same. Derek corrects her again, and she huffs. Then says, fine, whatever, she's amazing. She sarcastically accepts the title and asks what's next. Meanwhile, outside, Ray overhears their banter from the garden and clicks his tongue, annoyed. Cut to the next day, Diella sprints up to Derek. She's got the manifestation down, but her aim is trash. She demands he watch, holding up a ball of swirling mana. Day 2. She tried infusing it with cold energy, but the vibe is off. Derek sits at the tablespoon in one hand, spellbook in the other, listening while he reads. Another day passes, she's chasing him down the hallway again. She can feel the magic flow, but the sensation is totally weird. Derek keeps walking, nose buried in his notes. Totally absorbed. Fast forward to sunset, Diella stomps up to him near a tree, screaming his name. She demands to know what he's doing out here, and starts lecturing him. She specifically told him to stick close to the annex. Did her dad lend him those books just so he could slack off? Derek deadpans, yes, that's exactly why he got them. Diella glares, then yanks his sleeve. She finally got the magic to flow out, just like he taught her, so he better hurry up and check her work. Later, Valerian is standing in a sunlit room, hands clasped behind his back. When the door creaks open, Derek enters asking if he was summoned. Valerian gestures for him to sit, they need to talk, then asks for a status report on Diella. Derek admits she's made solid progress, but mastering one-star magic is going to take a while. Valerian nods understanding. Then he drops the news his mother is at a social event, but she'll be back next week. He warns Derek up front she isn't someone to mess with. The estate staff are chill but nobles. They hate seeing commoners in high places. And he asks if Derek is aware of the target on his back. Derek says he'll keep his guard up, then asks if that's the real reason he was called in. Valerian takes a heavy pause, the weight of the future settling on his shoulders. I'm the next head of House Duplin. That means I gotta be the guy who holds it all together. It's about embracing everyone, bringing the whole pack into the fold. To pull that off, I need to be 100% real with every single member. But man, it's brutal. The human heart is like this deep, dark ocean, you never know what's really down there. Ideally, we'd all be on the same wavelength, but let's be real, that's a fantasy. Derek cuts the philosophy lecture short. Okay, but what's your point? Valerian sighs, the mask slipping. It's Diella. She won't even give me the time of day. I still vividly remember when we were kids, she'd light up the room just seeing me. Seriously, where else in this universe are you gonna find an angel that pure? Desperation creeps into his voice. Come on, Derek. There's gotta be a cheat code. How do I win her favor? Derek raises a brow. Why ask me? Because you're literally the only person she shadows. Suddenly, Diella's voice echoes from the estate grounds, screaming for Derek like a lost puppy. She's on the warpath, demanding to know where he vanished to. Before Derek can bolt, Valerian blocks his path again. Hold up, you gotta see this first. He pulls something out. I actually learned how to craft dolls from the maids. Tell me what you think. He reveals a stitched doll wearing Diella's outfit. Spitting image right, can't you just feel the massive Big Brother love radiating off it? Derek stares at the thing with dead eyes. Are you trying to put a hex on her? Valerian flinches, totally mortified. You are useless at sentimental stuff. Cut to the manor hall. The vibe shifts instantly. Staff scramble into formation as a woman glides in radiating power and wearing a practiced smile that doesn't reach her eyes. I've heard quite the rumors about you. They say we found a top-tier magic instructor. She introduces herself. I am Morella Diable Duplin. If it's not too much trouble, I'd love to send a token of appreciation from my territory. Derek's reply is blunt. I don't belong to any house. Morella pauses. Excuse me. I'm a commoner. Morella freezes her eyes going wide as Saucer's repeating the word like it's a disease. A. Commoner. Rewind 1 week. A Lux carriage rolls up to the Grand Duke's estate. Aislinn sighs relieved. Honestly glad we got you here. As a big sister, I want to stick to Diella like glue. But Ebelstein is a mess, and I've got duties. I'm leaving her in your hands. Derek nods. Understood. Jaden smacks Derek on the back hard. Trusting this guy with your sister sounds like a total snooze fest. He grins. Just wrap this gig up fast and get back. If Pelin finds out you're gone, she's gonna throw a massive tantrum. We're counting on you, man. As Derek watches the carriage prep to leave, Aislinn suddenly covers her mouth in horror. Oh no, I completely forgot. Jaden tilts his head. Forgot what? Mother, she's coming back next week. I forgot to warn him. Jaden shrugs. Does he really need a warning for that? Aislinn hesitates, her inner monologue going wild. How do I explain her? She's basically a god of wrath in a dress. Back in the present, the office doors fly open with a heavy thud. Morella marches in, radiating pure hostility. Explain this. Why is a filthy commoner teaching Diella? What is running through your head? The Grand Duke doesn't even look up. My hearing is fine, Morella. Lower the volume. She snaps back. My volume isn't the issue here. We are talking about Diella, our precious youngest. The Grand Duke sighs, addressing her firmly. Morella, you know damn well I hate appointing commoners just as much as you do. But every single highborn tutor threw their hands up and quit. She glares. So you scraped the bottom of the barrel. You hired someone who rolled around in the mud with mercenaries. The Duke stays calm. Good help is hard to find. Besides, Aislinn recommended him personally. Morella bristles. I don't care. There are standards we have to maintain. We have my brother Flam. He was busy before, sure, but now that Diella has manifested her magic, he can easily take over. The Grand Duke cuts her off mid-sentence. You want to pull the man managing our entire territory just to play private tutor? Do you think Ebelstein runs on magic wishes? If we manage the land that carelessly, we're finished. Morella slams her hand down. You want to talk about careless? Look at the social circle. Do you think high society is a playground? It is a war zone out there. Who teaches her matters more than anything? This guy is a nobody with zero lineage. Do you want our daughter to be the laughingstock of the season when she debuts? Valerian steps up, putting a gentle hand on her shoulder to de-escalate. Mother, take a breath. You didn't come all this way just to scream at father. Did you? Morella jerks away. Step aside, Valerian. This is not something we can just brush under the rug. Suddenly, a voice cuts through the tension. At the end of the day, isn't the only question whether this commoner has the skills to teach. Isn't that right? Mother Ray steps into the light, eyes cold and composed. A peasant teaching high-tier magic to nobility. That is unheard of. Reg throws shade, admitting that if the guy actually has the skills to back it up, maybe it is not a disaster. But he wants proof. He eyes the man, named Derek, and challenges him to throw hands, magically speaking. The Grand Duke shuts that down instantly. Enough, he declares. Derek is the real deal, a certified mage. Reg shuts his mouth, then shifts targets. Fine. What about Diella? He argues that if Derek is such a god-tier mentor, his student should be showing results by now. He volunteers to personally fight Diella and stress-test her progress. As they leave the office, Valerian snaps, calling Reg's name, and demanding to know what kind of twisted game he is playing, suggesting a duel. Reg does not flinch. He asks if Valerian actually buys Diella's redemption arc, or if he has conveniently forgotten the chaos she caused. Valerian insists she is still their sister. Blood means they have to protect her no matter what. Reg scoffs. Blood, that girl, is the poison trying to rot this house from the inside. He warns that if she debuts in high society like this, it is game over for their reputation. Valerian stares, shocked by the coldness. Reg doubles down. Diella crossed the line first. The kindest thing for Diella, he says, is to keep her locked in the annex. Cut to early next morning, birds chirping calm before the storm. Diella bursts into Derek's room screaming his name. Derek barely looks up from his grimoire and asks what the panic is about at this hour. Diella slams the duel notice on his desk. If I tank this match, she yells, you are fired. Derek replies flatly that he heard. He notes young Master Reg is a legit one-star mage, so beating him is going to be a grind. Diella loses it. That is your advice. I'm going to get you fired. Derek just sits there clutching the scroll. I am a mercenary kid, he says. I do the gig. I take the bag. Simple. And honestly, he adds, I have already cashed out plenty. Diella's rage turns into pure confusion. You serious right now? She asks. Flash forward 1 week. The Dupain banners are snapping in the wind above the estate. The courtyard is packed, attendants standing in rigid formation. The Grand Duke steps out, entourage in tow, eyes locked forward, like he has already decided the verdict. Derek stands there, cloak pulled tight. Showtime, he murmurs. He adjusts his gear, zero shaking, ice cold. The Duke notices. No sweat, no nerves. Is that confidence? The Duke realizes this guy has guts. Definitely not someone to sleep on. Then, footsteps. Heavy. Deliberate. Reg marches in cape-swishing face set in stone. He thinks, this isn't a spar. He swears he is going to absolutely break Diella today. He wants her to feel the regret deep in her bones. Diella enters in a red hood, steps small, but wired with tension. Her mind drifts back to last week, asking Derek if he really does not care about the outcome. As long as the check clears. Derek answers, you have felt it too, right? Your magic is finally clicking. He admits she cannot cast one-star spells yet, but she is close. The reason is simple, he says. You have got Dupain blood. Diella flinches at the word blood. Why bring that up now, she snaps. Didn't I mention, Derek asks. The School of the Wild doesn't do hand-holding. We focus on self-taught survival. Diella loses it, demanding to know why he is being so cryptic, voice cracking with tears. She forces the words out anyway. I know I suck as a student, but I want to learn from you. I do not want anyone else. Derek stands silent, back-turned wind whipping his cloak. Finally, he speaks. I do not know. Noble etiquette. Never sparred for points. But he turns, I can teach you how to win a real fight. So, do you want to win? Reality snaps back. Dark memories flood in. Whispers snake through the crowd. Lady Diella's magic is a joke, they hiss. Even that famous tutor quit on her. How did Dupain produce such a failure? The house is washing up. That is all they see. She is just a chaos magnet, voices sneer. Poor Grand Duke, they speculate. At least he has Lady Aislinn. One voice cuts deep, that child. She is the one who will bring the whole dynasty down. She would have been better off unborn. The cruel whisper hits its mark. Diella absorbs every word, fighting the tears trembling on her lashes. But then the switch flips. Her gaze turns into steel as she locks eyes with Derek. Make me win, she demands. Snap back to reality. Diella takes the stage. She isn't standing there as Reg's little sister or the Duplain baby. Today she steps up solely as Derek's disciple, a mage. The Duplain banner snaps in the wind above the grounds. Lady Diella steps out, red cloak flowing, staring down Reg with piercing green eyes. The butler clears his throat, setting the stage. They're running Ibelstein high-rank sparring rules. Specifically, the Kelbrum Salon Protocol. He clarifies the win condition: whoever triggers General Pelham's barrier first takes the L. Reg clenches his jaw, impatient. Let's get this over with. Derek observes from the sidelines, silent as a shadow. His eyes zero in on the pendant General Pelham's protective circle. He recognizes the safety mechanism immediately. An auto-guard that triggers right before fatal damage, completely nullifying the incoming spell. Typical noble behavior, Derek thinks. Wasting a fortune in enchanted gear just for a playground scrap. He notes the 10-minute timer, but judging by Reg's aggressive vibe, the guy plans to speedrun this match. Reg lifts a hand, chanting instantly. Emerald rings of mana ripple outward, screaming like slicing gales. The pressure wave hits the terrace hard. Reg's internal monologue is pure arrogance. He wants to blast Diella back to the kids' table. Her cloak snaps wildly in the turbulence. She holds her ground until the last second, then whoosh. She dodges sideways and takes off running. Reg's eyes narrow. He's offended she even tried to move. The nerve, he scoffs, swinging his arm for round 2. He launches another mana surge to crush her flat. But Diella keeps her momentum, bracing and deflecting with raw, no-frills, 1-star magic. Derek analyzes her technique. She's handling the basics with surprising ease, but the rookie mistakes are showing. In a real deathmatch, she'd be in trouble. She's forcing the mana trajectory just to ensure her blocks connect. Derek mentally warns her, keep that up, and she's going to burn out her fuel tank in record time. She plants her heels and shoves her mana outward. A towering wall of ice erupts from the ground. The green wind current smashes into it, and she dives to the right, barely threading the needle through the swirling chaos as the wind magic hooks around, chasing her. Reg glares at the ice wall. Cheap parlor tricks. He judges it as mere brute force, not a refined technique. He figures she can't block his real power with gimmicks. Time to end this with overwhelming firepower. He shoots her a challenge glare. Try blocking this. He gathers multiple green orbs, spinning and swelling like a hurricane in the palm of his hand. The pressure spikes, and Diella's breath hitches. But then Derek's voice echoes in her mind. The lesson he drilled into her skull. Mercenaries play a different game than nobles. They don't care about honor or fair play. They care about the W. He warned her, this isn't a polite duel. Winning might make her look like the villain, but she holds the pen that writes the ending. She remembers him asking, "Are you okay with getting your hands dirty?" Diella clenches her trembling fists, chin up. Absolutely. Zero hesitation now. Diella stands tall in her crimson hood, fixing her blue eyes on the target. Green mana blades slash through the air. The wind pressure hits like a physical wall. Diella drops low and sprints cloak, billowing behind her like a war banner. She skids past the razor's edge of the wind flow. The green arc slices the floor with a violent hiss, tearing up the wood. Splinters explode where she stood a millisecond ago. She keeps moving, replaying Derek's tactical download. In the Merc world, there are fighters who secure the win even when they're totally outclassed in power. Those guys don't duel, they survive. Fighting means owning the battlefield. Use the terrain, use the debris, use everything. Whatever exists can be a weapon. She forces herself to focus. She has to snatch that split-second opening when he drops his guard. Reg drops into a stance and fires another spell, confident enough to call the match right there. It's over. The blast hammers down with crushing weight. The ice shatters and a wind slash blindsides her from the rear. The strike tears across the terrace, connecting with a boom. Dust and rubble shoot skyward. Derek watches unblinking. Their mother loses it, screaming for Diella to stop the match, convinced her daughter just got wrecked. The Grand Duke shuts her down cold. Sit. He declares the match is still live, ignoring her protests. That Diella clearly took a direct hit. He cuts her off. Wrong. General Pelham's barrier didn't trigger. The Grand Duke goes silent, watching intensely. Below them, Derek sits motionless still as a gargoyle. His red eyes are locked on the terrace. The Duke glances at him, realizing the mercenary hasn't even blinked. Did he know the Duke wonders if Derek expected Diella to level up this fast? On the terrace, Reg's face drops. Wait, that hit should have connected. Why didn't the magic circle trigger? He scans the area, eyes darting around, totally rattled. Where did she go? Crack. The floor splits right next to his boot. Too slow. A massive spike of ice blasts upward from beneath him, catching him completely off balance. It launches him off his feet. He grunts, slamming onto the terrace hard and skidding across the rough stone. Pain twists his features. Ray grits his teeth, cold sweat dripping down his face as reality sets in. That shot came from under the floor. He snaps his head toward the referee. The official stands at the edge. Ray thinks, technically, going under the stage is leaving the platform. Right, that's an instant loss in Kelburn Salon. Silence. The ref does nothing. Ray scoffs bitterly inside his mind. You gotta be kidding me. So hiding under the floor doesn't count as stepping out of bounds. Unbelievable. He clenches his jaw. The high and mighty nobles never wrote rules for rat tactics like this. He stalks across the fractured wood planks. He freezes at a broken gap and looks down. Boom! At that exact second, ice explodes upward with a violent roar. He jumps back as jagged blue spears pierce the air around him. Wood splinters fly everywhere like shrapnel. Reg sticks the landing cape, whipping in the wind. His eyes scan the battlefield like a hawk. He swallows the lump in his throat. He can't see her. Landing a hit on a ghost is going to be a nightmare. But her, she just needs to tag him once. Game over. His expression hardens. So much for noble etiquette. This is a street fight now. He shouts her name. Diella. He scans the floor again and spots a jagged hole torn into the platform. He leans over the edge. There she is, crouched in the dust and darkness. Her red hood frames a face that is way too calm as she looks up. Her eyes are locked in, burning with intensity. Reg's breath hitches. He's seen that look somewhere before. Flashback. It's the same dead-eyed stare Derek gave when Reg's brother choked him out. Reg's face goes dark. No way Diella came up with this strategy alone. He shoots a glare at the VIP seats. Derek is just sitting there, arms crossed, totally unbothered. Pure rage floods Reg's system. That scum. This has Derek written all over it. Reg rips the clasp off his cloak and tosses the heavy fabric aside. It flutters down next to the ice spikes. He stands tall and raises a hand. All right then. If we're playing dirty, let's get dirty. Fine. I'll play your little game. Round 2. Reg stands solo on the wreckage of the stage. The floor is absolutely trashed, shattered stone, and hanging planks from his own attacks. Dust hangs in the air. This doesn't look like a noble duel anymore. Up in the balcony, the Duchess is losing it. I can't believe she's crawling in the dirt like a rat, she shrieks. It's disgraceful, totally unladylike. She begs her husband to stop the fight, but the Duke stays ice cold. Keep watching, he says. She hasn't broken a single rule. His expression, unreadable. He just watches the chaos below. Meanwhile, beneath the floorboards, Diella waits in the dark. Glowing ice shards float around her, casting a cold light on the dirt streaks on her face. Her eyes are wide, laser-focused, and in the silence, something shifts. She sees it. For the first time, she actually sees it. Mana flowing through the air like neon currents. Up top, Reg freezes. A jolt goes down his spine. He feels the pressure change immediately. Boom ice pillars shoot up from the ground. He dives back just in time, boots scraping the cracked stone. Spikes shred the spot where he just stood. He clenches his jaw. She's deliberately interrupting his casting. Every time he tries to chant, she strikes. He refuses to lose like this. Sweat rolls down his face as he scans the ruins. He needs an edge, any advantage. Then he sees it, the tall flagpole on the edge of the arena. A crazy idea takes shape. Underground Diella pauses. The flow of mana from Reg just stopped. She knows he's plotting something. She holds her breath, ready to strike the second he starts chanting again. On the sidelines, the old butler is stressing out. He murmurs, "Young master." Panic is etched into his wrinkles. Suddenly, Reg moves. He launches himself upward. He shimmies up the flagpole with insane speed. From this height and distance, he thinks. She can't jam his mana flow, but he's facing a serious glitch. Balancing on that shaky footing makes chanting a total no-go, so he realizes there's only one play left to secure the win. He decides to dump his entire mana reserve into one catastrophic strike, an attack heavy enough to delete the entire platform from existence. Skipping the incantation, he stands tall at the apex, with the wind howling in his ears, and lets it rip. A titanic surge of magic screams downward, crashing into the stands with apocalyptic Derek watches the scene unfold, face stone cold and unimpressed. The magical barrage absolutely nukes the stage. Stone fractures, wood disintegrates. The support pillar just shatters under the crushing pressure, sending a shockwave ripping upward. The flagpole stands zero chance. Base cracks, pole snaps, and Reagan gets launched sky high like a ragdoll. Balance gone. A sonic boom tears through the dueling grounds. Smoke and debris swallow the entire arena whole. The Duchess shrieks her son's name in pure terror as the blast consumes everything. But when the dust starts to settle, Reagan sticks the landing. Hand down to brace himself, he snaps his head up sharply. He scans the drifting smoke, hunting for her. Suddenly, boom. A figure tears through the haze. Diella is sprinting across the ruins. Reagan's reflexes are god tier. Mana gathers at his fingertips, condensing into a glowing blue arrow. He lets it fly, and the beam of light screams toward her. Diella's eyes go wide. She twists mid-stride and throws out a hand. She blasts her own mana outward to tank the hit, but you can see the strain. She is visibly shook. The effort nearly breaks her. Reagan shows no mercy. Another arrow locks and loads at his fingertips. Diella clocks the projectile coming straight for her head. She knows she can't block this one. Instead of backing down, she flips the script. She charges him head on. Reagan lets a quick, cocky smile slip. He thinks one hit ends this, but he underestimates her speed. Before he can even react, Diella closes the gap and delivers a savage kick right across his chest. The blow snaps his head back. He stumbles, totally rattled. Blood trickles from Diella's lip as she grits her teeth. Reagan drops to one knee, clutching his chest, gasping for air after that unexpected physical strike. While he fights for balance, Diella plants a hand on the ground and scoops up a fistful of dirt and gravel from the wreckage. Seeing her opening, she hurls it straight into his eyes, a move totally unheard of in noble duels. Grit and dust coat his face. Reagan recoils, cursing as he desperately claws the debris from his eyes. He is blind for a few critical seconds. Diella uses that window to fall back to a safer distance. When his vision clears, it hits him. If she's resorting to throwing hands and pocket sand, she's tapped out on mana. He can't believe she's fighting this dirty. She is scrapping for every inch, even when defeat looks guaranteed. As he slowly gets back up, the realization settles in. This duel was never just about the W for her. It was about proving she exists. A new fire lights up in his eyes. He decides right there to honor that grit. He won't treat her like a mage anymore, but like his sister, and he's going to bring the heat. The sun beats down on the ruined courtyard, casting long shadows over the broken stone. Diella stands opposite him, exhausted, clutching her head, eyes burning with frustration. She's at her limit. A drop of blood slides down her chin. Her mind snaps back to a memory from way back. A voice echoes in her head. Think of magic as painting with a brush. The memory plays out. Mana is the paint. The voice explains. The spell is the brush. Don't force it. Gather the paint scattered around you, and use it to create a masterpiece. Under a quiet, starry sky, Derek demonstrates. Blue mana swirls gracefully at his command. He turns to her. This act of creation, that is magic. Young Diella looks up at him, mesmerized as a whole new world opens up. That peaceful night under the stars fills her with a second wind. Back in the arena, Diella closes her eyes. A faint smile touches her lips. She remembers the lesson. Mana is paint, spell is brush. A soft blue aura starts to glow around her. She ditches the rigid textbook chanting. Instead, she reaches out with pure will. The light around her flares up. She feels it now, the raw mana in the air responding, swirling, gathering at her fingertips. She opens her eyes, gaze sharp. With this paint, she's going to create. In a blinding flash, the mana snaps together. A perfect, shimmering ice spear materializes, suspended in a complex magic circle. She actually did it. That is real magic. The butler's jaw hits the floor, sweat rolling down his face in disbelief. The Duchess turns to her husband, voice trembling. She stammers that Diella, the failure daughter, is using one-star magic. Reagan watches, terrified. He whispers her name, scared she's gonna lose control and cause a massive disaster with a spell that heavy. But Diella is a rock, hands steady, channeling the insane power of the ice spear. Sensing the threat, Reagan powers up his own mana. No hesitation, he charges, convinced the ending hasn't changed. Even with one-star magic, he thinks he's still one step ahead. He has to strike before she releases it. Diella doesn't flinch. She stares down his charge. Reagan unleashes a full volley of magic arrows. Desperate to blitz him before he can discharge his weapon, Diella unleashes her frost projectile. The two attacks smash into each other mid-flight. Sorcery slams into sorcery. A blinding detonation rips through the air, drowning the arena in a chaotic wash of pure, volatile energy. The Duchess shrieks Diella's name, the color draining from her face in sheer horror. As the smoke begins to dissipate, an unbelievable sight is revealed at ground zero. A luminous sphere, humming with perfectly controlled mana, stands untouched. Ray exhales a trembling breath. Having successfully tanked the hit with an absurdly overpowered shield, he's completely tapped out from the massive energy expenditure. Opposite him, Diella gasps for air, looking battered and bruised. Derek observes the scene, his intense eyes locking onto the destruction in total silence, analyzing every detail. 1 year prior, the estate was peaceful chicks chirping in the underbrush, birds gliding past the manor windows in the soft morning glow. The bearded duke pulled up with his entourage. His butler stepped up, announcing the arrival of a missive from House Belmere. That morning, presumably discussing the recent drama, the duke asked for a solution. Through the glass pane, he spotted Diella sitting in a pool of sunlight, staring into the void, completely dissociated. The duke went quiet. The defensive circle had triggered. Derek cast his gaze downward while Diella finally admitted defeat in her heart. Her mask of composure shattered instantly. She grabbed her head, sobbing openly on the wrecked floorboards. Her mother went ballistic again, trashing the duel as vulgar trash and roasting the so-called master for the disgraceful techniques he'd instilled. A flashback flickered in the duke's mind, a young recruit stepping out from the ranks, introducing himself as Raymond Oswald Dupline, stating it was the highest honor to serve under the duke's banner. A bystander had noted the rookie's eyes looked just like his father's, burning with raw ambition. Raymond had responded with humble gratitude. The memory dissolved into the present. The duke analyzed Diella, realizing her gaze had actually sharpened. Staff swarmed the platform. One panic asked if Lady Diella was injured. Another demanded she get medical attention right now. She shoved them aside, marched to her brother, and bowed silently. Ray, visibly awkward, mumbled that she'd done good work. Diella stayed hunched over, wiping tears from her face, as maids flocked to her. They tried to usher her inside, but she pulled away, storming off despite their fussing. In the hushed garden, Derek sat solitary on a bench near the perimeter wall, his red eyes tranquil. Diella halted in front of him. Shaking, she choked out that she lost and was sorry. Derek looked up, assuring her it was cool. He claimed he was fine too and told her to use this frustration as fuel, to level up and get stronger. That broke her. She let out a guttural, raw scream from the bottom of her lungs. A maid yelped in shock. Her mother came sprinting in, screaming Diella's name. She hit her knees, grabbed her daughter, and wailed that her poor baby had suffered enough. Yanking her into a suffocating hug, the mother insisted it was all over and demanded she get treated immediately. Diella, trembling and streak-faced, whispered her compliance. The maids guided her away. Her mother stayed behind, dabbing at her eyes. Derek turned to exit the scene. Diella's mother marched on him and absolutely exploded. She called him low class and screamed at him, asking if he realized the damage he caused. She scoffed that teaching a one-star spell was unimpressive trash. Derek said nothing. She smacked him across the face, accusing him of polluting a noble flower with cheap parlor tricks and forcing shame upon the daughter of the Grand Ducal House. She ranted that he could never comprehend the concept of noble values or dignity. Diella's father stepped in, telling her to get a grip on reality. He stated clearly that what just went down wasn't even a real magic duel. When she kept arguing, he shut her down with a sharp slap of his own and demanded to know if she couldn't see who was actually acting disgraceful here. She flinched back, asking why, insisting that Derek was nothing but a commoner. The Duke replied coldly that commoner or not, he was their daughter's mentor, and asked what kind of parent treats a teacher like garbage. The white-haired boy lowered his head, staying silent. The Duke asked him to overlook her behavior, explaining that every parent has their own twisted way of loving their kid. The boy murmured that it was fine. The Duke invited him to the reception room for a private debrief. His wife stood there, fuming helplessly. Inside the office, the Duke gave him props, saying he'd raised Diella well, and that, as the boss of the estate, a reward was in order. He explained that the highest tier spell legally allowed for a commoner is 3-star magic, and bluntly asked if he wanted it. The boy realized the Duke had read him like a book. Sensing the hunger for power, he'd barely admitted to himself. He figured you have to grab opportunities. The second they pop up, he confirmed he wanted it. The Duke nodded, noting that while he taught Diella a 1-star spell effectively, That rookie level won't keep her alive in the cutthroat world of Abelstein high society. Derek tries to bow out, telling the Duke there are plenty of other experts who could take over Lady Diella's training. Now that she's got the basics down, she'll level up fast. But the Duke isn't buying it. He argues that what she needs isn't just a tutor, she needs a master. The sound of a quill scratching parchment fills the tense silence as the Duke exposes Derek's secret ambition. The kid is chasing a level of power that a commoner isn't even supposed to dream of. The Duke asks if he realizes how triggered the high nobles would be by such arrogance, though he adds he's willing to turn a blind eye for now. Derek feels a chill. The fact that the Duke knows he's aiming to break the 3-star limit is terrifying. The boy stays silent as the Duke drops the ultimatum. With goals that dangerous, he can't stay in a place like this forever. You got an escape plan ready? The boy looks him in the eye. Yes, I do. The Duke respects the hustle, but insists he needs Derek to stick around a bit longer to teach Diella. He dangles the bait. The highest magic a commoner can legally own is a 3-star spell. You want it? No hesitation. I want it. Cut to the library, where Derek slides a heavy, leather-bound tome off a high shelf. Dust motes dance in the light as he opens it, gloved fingers tracing the complex magic circles stamped across the pages. He's struck speechless. This is incredible. Most mages grind their whole lives just to touch a 2-star book, but here, the shelves are stacked with 3-star grimoires like they're nothing. Okay, I'm staying, he decides, noting that Pelin would absolutely lose her mind if she found out about this stash. Meanwhile, the estate remains peaceful as the day drifts by under a perfect blue sky. Birds circle above as Diella steps out, bandaged up but standing with that forced, bratty pride. She smirks, satisfied. Look at me, I'm officially a 1-star mage now. Derek keeps it cool. You cast the spell one time. So, technically, sure. Diella's face falls. That's it? Your student just made history and you look bored? He shrugs, pointing out it wasn't exactly a world record speedrun, which just annoys her more. You are impossible to please, she groans. Derek notices she's healed up surprisingly well for just 3 days. He teases her about the waterworks from back then. Diella stiffens immediately. Nope, false. That was dust. Just some really aggressive dust in my eyes. She admits she was just scared her dad was going to kick him out. Derek smoothly changes the subject to class. Since you're growing so fast, we'll be tackling other 1-star spells soon. Diella blinks, confused. What do you mean fast? Derek explains that for a newbie with freshly awakened mana, hitting 1-star this quickly is rare. Diella's eyes light up and she immediately starts listing her wish list. Mana arrow, no chanting, super convenient. Windblade. I saw my brother Rhaeg use it, and it looked totally overpowered. And ice spear. If I get good enough, I could probably snipe Rhaeg with that one too. Derek cuts the fantasy short. We're doing mana. Manifestation. Excuse me? I thought we were learning cool spells. Derek counters that fundamentals are what matter most. Mana is the key to everything. Diella sighs, defeated. Fine, let's do it. If you say so. But her expression screams disappointment. She realizes he's staring at her. What? Do I have something on my face? Derek shakes his head. No. I'm just shocked you're actually listening to me for once. Diella explodes. Hey, I have always respected your authority. Derek mutters always, and his mind instantly cuts back to the incident. He flashes back to that grin she had right before she dumped dirty mop water on him. You poured filth on my head. Twice, he reminds her. Diella freezes. You still remember that? Derek deadpans. Kind of hard to repress. She panics and sprints across the terrace, laughing nervously. Wow, look at that weather. Perfect day for mana practice. Derek watches her scramble away and can't help but smile at her energy. Night falls over the mansion, the moon watching over Diella as she lies totally passed out on the grass. Chest heaving, she gasps for air, sweat dripping and scuff marks proving she gave it 100% effort. Standing over her in the chill night breeze, the instructor notes that her schedule is about to get crazy. Diella is still wheezing but pushes herself upright as he leans in closer. She snaps back that she already heard the news. Rubbing her temples in pure annoyance, Diella mumbles that, it is whatever, then drops the bomb that starting next week, she is stuck with etiquette classes too. The teacher asks if that is actually a vibe or not. She explains that just because she nailed a 1-star spell, she is being rewarded with a true noble education. Diella is not buying it, rattling off the nightmare list. Basic etiquette, foreign languages, geography, history, botany, piano, and sewing. She literally cannot grasp why she needs to learn any of that useless fluff. Glaring up with total skepticism, she wonders how Sister Euceline survived the boredom. The teacher points out that is exactly why Euceline is dubbed the Flower of Dupline, and he adds that the girl is basically the main character of Ebelstein society. Diella, still obsessed with her own goals, insists she only cares about mastering magic. The teacher tells her to go for it, reminding her that since the Grand Duke is the one who hired him, They have got plenty of wiggle room. She questions if time is really on their side. He smirks, asking who would dare fire him right now. Diella shoots back that, obviously, there is someone plotting his downfall. She points out that while Dad gave the green light, her mother is definitely not letting this slide. Derek's expression turns serious as he asks why the madam is so hellbent on kicking him out. She explains that studying under him is supposedly ruining her noble image. She says Madame is terrified she will end up acting like some rough mercenary. She adds that even that duel was miles away from the elegance nobles are supposed to have. The teacher goes quiet, looking down, then declares, the fix is simple. He formally addresses her as Lady Diella, claiming that silencing the madam is actually a piece of cake, instructing her to just remove madam's excuse entirely. Diella blinks, totally blindsided, letting out a confused noise as the strategy clicks. The next day, the massive estate gleams under a bright sky, while footsteps echo through the halls. Madam marches down the corridor, hands clasped and posture stiff as a board. Servants blur in the background as she advances with heavy, calculated steps. Inside her head, she is fuming that it is unbelievable Diella got stuck with such a trash teacher. She laments that her poor baby is suffering. Her mind is assaulted by grim visions of that man's bad influence, focusing on his ruthless, savage grin. He looks more like a street brawler than a tutor. A harsh warning rings in her memory that Diella needs to watch out, because this is the mercenary lifestyle. She imagines Diella replying that she understands, obeying him like a soldier. Another nightmare overlays it, seeing Diella stomping around, casually hauling a dead boar like a savage, declaring this is the peak of Ebelstein high society. While the crowd shrieks her name in absolute horror and disgust, the stress peaks until Madame clutches her head, groaning that the migraine is killing her. She thinks bitterly about what a low-born thug could possibly teach her daughter. Her resolve turns into diamond as she insists to herself that even if her husband signed off on it, she is the lady of this house. Pressing her fingers against her throbbing temple, she tells herself she has to find a loophole. Suddenly, a voice cuts through, and Diella steps up, calling out to her mother. Madame spins around, plastering on a soft smile and greeting Diella warmly, slipping into a practiced, fake tenderness like nothing is wrong. She says that even if the world calls Diella immature, Mommy loves seeing her smile. Then she freezes mid-sentence, the warmth draining away as confusion hits her hard. Diella approaches wearing a neat blue dress, looking totally poised and composed, asking if her mother slept well last night. Madame flinches, a nervous sweat bead rolling down. As she stammers out a confused reply, Diella hits her with a gentle, perfect smile, explaining she could not leave her room because she was patching up her injuries, so she regrets missing their little chat. She adds that she has a ton of things to share, but she explains she is booked for piano lessons this morning. Her mother looks completely shook and manages to say she understands. Diella places a delicate hand over her chest, excusing herself to go first since her schedule is packed. Her mother hurriedly calls out, asking if the etiquette classes have not kicked off yet, and mentioning they are supposed to start next week. Diella answers that is correct, keeping her expression perfectly calm. Diella says thanks to her mother's worrying, she is actually hyped for those classes. Her mother stumbles over her words, then tells her to hustle so she will not be late. As she glides away, a maid is so floored by Diella's new attitude that she drops her entire load. Breaking character from her usual self, Diella walks up to the girl and asks if she is injured. She tells her not to push herself too hard. The brown-haired maid freezes up, sweating bullets, as she forces out a stuttering acknowledgement and addresses Diella with full respect. Nearby, Diella keeps moving, her blue skirt swaying elegantly as she leaves the scene. Behind her, Diella's mother stands rooted to the spot, watching her daughter go, her gaze lingering while the servants and the maid just stare in total shock. As Diella exits the courtyard, we cut to the high society hub sitting just beyond Ebelstein's northern wall. Iceline is finally glowing again. Seriously, at the last mixer, she looked so stressed that everyone was low-key panicking. She admits her bad mood was way too loud. She never meant to drag the vibe down for the whole squad. But now, the drama's handled, and she's chilling. Ellen, Count Bulmildy's second daughter, pipes up. She confesses she was spiraling after hearing rumors that Iceline kept sneaking out of the noble district, supposedly to help commoners. Iceline appreciates the concern but drops the truth bomb about her recent trips. She was actually headhunting a magic tutor for her little sister, Diella. Ellen's jaw practically hits the floor. She assumes if Iceline scouted him herself, this guy must be a wizarding god. Denise from the Burdett family jumps in. Wait, that Diella? She asks. Iceline nods, admitting she saw her sister recently and barely recognized her. The glow-up is unreal. Diella isn't just acting nice, she's carrying herself with total elegance now. It's like she's a completely different person. The old Diella, gone. Word is, she's casting one-star magic already. Her poise is so on point, Iceline feels like she needs to grind twice as hard just to keep up. Denise is intrigued. The Duprain family usually keeps Diella under wraps, so this tea is fresh. She asks if Iceline really found a legendary tutor to pull this off. Iceline smirks. Oh, absolutely. She admits his resume isn't fancy, but his teaching skills? Top tier, unmatched. Negotiating with the Belgian mercenary corps to get him was a hassle, but totally worth every penny. Mercenary hangs in the air like a bad smell. Denise and Ellen are shook. Then, Ellen has a flashback. The Beaumont head chef used to work for the Duprain, until Diella kicked him to the curb. The reason? His soup was too hot. And now that little brat has reformed and become a mage? Ellen needs to know who performed this miracle. She's suddenly obsessed with this mystery tutor. She begs Iceline for a name drop. If he tamed Diella, this guy is going to be a superstar. She wants to be a fan before he blows up. Iceline smiles and drops the name, Derek. Cut to the estate. Diella is updating her mom. Derek isn't just teaching magic. He's coaching her on etiquette too. She's picked up a ton. She admits trying to learn this stuff solo would have been a nightmare. The Duchess ignores the Derek part, praising Diella for trying to teach herself. Diella corrects her immediately. Sure, she studied a bit, but Derek is the real MVP here. Mom glosses over Derek again, asking about the struggles of her self-study journey. Diella is brutal with the honesty. Everything was hard, and without Derek, she'd be at zero. Mileera is seething. Why won't her daughter stop hyping up this random guy? It's unacceptable. Her princess, obsessed with a commoner, she doesn't know what spell Derek cast on her, but she hates it. This has to stop. Now. She can already see the disaster unfolding in her head. Meanwhile, the staff is buzzing. Diella isn't just calmer. She's actually being nice to the help. She's radiating good vibes. In just a few weeks, the turnaround has been insane. Even the butler is impressed. That kind of class was usually Iceline's brand, but Diella is stepping up as a true lady. The verdict? She's finally acting like a noble, and everyone knows Mr. Derek is the miracle worker. Mileera silently vows to cut Derek out of the picture. Fast forward a bit. Derek is solo grinding 3-star magic. The talent is there, but he's hitting a massive wall. It feels like an invisible barrier is locking him out of the 3-star tier. The problem? These textbooks are for orthodox mages. He's wild faction. He needs chaos, not theory. To level up, he needs actual combat. Suddenly, Reg's voice cuts in from behind, apologizing for the intrusion. Reg asks if he's disturbing the flow. Derek brushes it off. We're good. What's up? Reg needs to talk about Diella. Then his eyes lock onto the book in Derek's hands. Is that a 3-star tome? He asks. Derek nods. It's a loaner from the Grand Duke himself. Reg is floored that his dad gave Derek that access. Derek admits he's not at that level yet, but it never hurts to study ahead. Reg suddenly flashes back to the time he was foolish enough to challenge Derek. The flashback hits him like an icy shockwave, his father physically blocking his path. Shaking off the cold sweat, he mutters, "The man is an absolute legend." Derek cuts through the silence, asking bluntly what business brings him to see Miss Diella. Reg freezes, looking completely lost. I'm drawing a blank here, Reg stammers, clearly struggling. You know, teenage girls. What are they actually into these days? The guilt is written all over his face. He is definitely trying to make amends with Diella. How about embroidery, he suggests weakly. Or maybe a custom doll that looks exactly like her? He looks at Derek with desperate puppy eyes. Do you think she'd vibe with that? Flashback. Derek recalls that cursed, creepy doll Valerian once made. His face goes stone cold instantly. Nope, hard pass. That is absolutely not the move, Derek says flatly. Reg sighs, shoulders slumping. Yeah, I had a feeling you'd say that. I mean, I wasn't going to stitch it myself or anything. He clarifies quickly. But after thinking it over, he admits it's a terrible idea and signals to head back. As they stroll toward the main estate, Reg's anxiety finally starts to melt away. Seriously though, he starts, voice steady now. I owe you big time. The whole vibe at the mansion has done a 180. Valerian is actually locked in on managing the territory now, he explains. And Dad? He won't admit it, but he's pleased. Derek nods slightly. The Grand Duke plays his cards close to his chest. Tell me about it. Everyone here knows that. Reg pauses, getting philosophical. I guess I gotta face facts. People can change. Especially kids at that age. Maybe I was blind to it. Or maybe I just didn't want to see it. But seeing Diella evolve, it makes me want to level up too. And that is all on you, Derek. He emphasizes his thanks again. Derek just lowers his head, humble as ever. Then, a beat later, have you noticed Dilla's magic lately? She's weaving it differently. You see it too, right? Reg nods. Yeah, it feels less like casting and more like painting. That hits Derek hard. Nobles. Even when it comes to raw power, there is this massive, natural wall between them and commoners. A gap you can't just bridge with effort. She's tapping into the wild faction's style, Derek explains. Pure instinct. I've heard rumors about that school, Reg muses. Derek looks thoughtful, calculating the future. Once she hits a certain tier, she'll need to fly solo. If I stick around, I'm just going to get in her way. Trust me, he adds. When you get that good, the path just lights up for you eventually. Snap. Just like that, 2 months fly by since Dyla started her glow up. One sunny afternoon, Dyla spots a fresh bouquet. Whoa, where did these beauties come from? She asks. They were blooming so perfectly, I couldn't resist. The maid chirps. I even tucked one behind my ear before grabbing the rest for you. They smell divine, Dyla smiles. Like spring decided to stick around just for us. She casually flicks her wrist, casting 1-star magic like it's breathing. She's tight with the staff now, too. I missed out on so much before, she admits, thinking of her mentor. Derek really changed my world. You're glowing today, miss, the maid teases. Oh, right. It's magic lesson day, isn't it? Is it that obvious? Dyla giggles, arranging the vase. She keeps one perfect blossom back for herself. This one's for Derek, she beams. But moments later, thud, that same flower hits the floor hard. Her excitement shatters instantly. Tears well up in her eyes. What does this mean? Valerian, fresh from his duties, just nods grimly. It's true, Dayla. Derek keeps his voice steady, though the air is heavy. You've leveled up, Dyla. Honestly, I've got nothing left to teach you. Seasons change, he says softly. Winter doesn't last forever, and neither does spring. Our lessons are done. He pauses. I think the Grand Duke figured it out a while ago. You're a wild faction mage at heart, Dyla. You've got your own rhythm now. If I keep holding your hand, I'm just clipping your wings. You need to soar. The Grand Duke listens, silent but agreeing. Then there is no reason for you to remain, the Duke states coldly. Agreed, Derek replies. The room goes deadly quiet. The Grand Duke stands up, towering over the room. You changed a lot of things around here, Derek. Because of you, my daughter actually grew up. He looks away. I was so obsessed with running this land that I failed as a dad. But now, I can finally breathe easy. When do you leave? He asks. Derek doesn't hesitate. Miss Iselin is visiting soon. She's heading back to Ebelstein. I'll hitch a ride in her carriage. The Grand Duke gives a single, sharp nod. Leave the library key, he commands. Of course, Derek says. I just need to return the books I'm studying right now. I'll send the key back with the steward later. No, the Grand Duke interrupts sharply. Skip the formalities. Give it to me. Now. Derek freezes. He gets it. His eyes dart to the 3-star grimoire hanging at his waist as the Grand Duke waves him away. The book sits on the desk, an unspoken gift. The air is heavy with things unsaid. Derek offers a deep, respectful bow and exits the study without a word. Outside, the hallway is suffocating. Dayla leans against the wall, waiting. Minutes? Hours? Derek can't tell how long she's been standing there. She cuts straight to the point. You crash into my life out of nowhere, and now you plan to ghost me just as fast? Derek sighs. What else is there for me to do? She knows his mind is made up, she knows it. But the desperation spills out anyway. Do you truly have to go? Is staying completely off the table? He hears the crack in her voice. Derek keeps his expression steady. I'm going back to the life of a mercenary. Gotta chase new magic. He locks eyes with her. Keep grinding. Keep getting stronger. When you finally make your debut in Ebelstein's high society, our paths will cross again. By then, I might have leveled up enough to teach you something brand new. You're infuriating, she mutters, always leaving me with nothing to say. That night, the darkness comes back. The nightmare returns. It's been gone since Derek arrived, but now, it's back with a vengeance. Toxic whispers, twisted laughter. It doesn't matter that she's a 1-star mage now. She might carry herself like a poised, noble lady, but inside, she feels like that helpless little girl again. She snaps awake, cold sweat, soaking her sheets. Moonlight slices through the curtains, illuminating the panic. Just a dream. She gasps, fighting to get her breathing under control. The door flies open. A maid rushes in, panic written all over her face. My lady, I heard a scream. Are you hurt? Seeing the maid triggers a dark, dangerous thought in Dyla's mind. Derek is leaving because his job here is done. There's no reason to stay. But if she spirals, if she wrecks everything like before, maybe that reason would come back. Then, she remembers what Derek told her. The choice is always in your hands. The maid is trembling now, terrified by the look in Dayla's eyes. My lady, do you feel sick? Dyla freezes. One tantrum, one scene, and he might stay. But she swallows it down. I'm fine. She realizes that acting out now would be like hitting the delete button on everything Derek did for her. Even if he walks away, she won't let his hard work mean nothing. Time blurs, and suddenly, it's departure day. They stand at the entrance to Ebelstein. Aseline checks the logistics. Should we drop you here, or push to the commercial district? The district might be more convenient for you. I appreciate everything you've done, Derek says, grateful for the care. Aseline nods toward the carriage. Time for final goodbyes. Derek turns back one last time. It hits him. This isn't like the day he first showed up. The vibe is completely different. The whole DuPrince Jr. squad is there to see him off. Valerian steps forward. So, you're really punching out, huh? Time to go back where I belong, Derek confirms. Reg chimes in. Living at the estate couldn't have been a walk in the park. Thanks for the grind. Seriously. If you ever need backup, just holler. We've got you. Derek offers a sincere thanks. A round of nods, a respectful bow. Then he lifts his head. His eyes lock onto the quiet one. Dyla, chin up, eyes fierce, radiating that forced pride. Why are you looking at me like that? She demands. Expecting me to cry? Want me to beg you to stay? I'm not a child anymore. Derek softens. It was an honor teaching you. I know you can't exactly go around telling people I was your master, but I hope you keep the magic alive. Don't be ridiculous. Dayla shoots back instantly. I'm going to tell everyone you were my teacher. You want a quiet life? Too bad. That's over. Because you're the mentor of the legendary Miss Dayla now. She waits for a comeback, but Derek just watches her in silence. That silence squeezes her chest. Just, don't get hurt out there, okay? She mumbles. I'll be fine, he replies. You worry about yourself, he urges. She shakes her head. I'm good. There is nothing to worry about. I'm an adult now. I can take care of myself. Those words trigger a massive déjà vu in Derek's brain. He said the exact same thing to Cordia once. Cordia didn't look relieved back then. She pulled him into a crushing hug, looking more terrified than ever. She whispered something he didn't understand at the time. He was too young. But now, years later, standing in front of his own student as she claims she's grown up, it all clicks. Derek finally understands. She's still so young. The road ahead is brutal. The world is full of invisible currents, confusion, and hardship. Standing against the tsunami of the future, that little figure claiming to be an adult looks heartbreakingly fragile. So Derek repeats the words Cordia once gave him. Dyla, there is no need for you to become an adult so soon. Her eyes go wide. She bites her lip, trying to hold the dam, but it breaks. The tears spill over. Red-rimmed eyes blinking back reality. She knows time is up. No more masks. Goodbye, Derek. Tears stream down her face, yet she forces a smile and waves. She's about to step into the shark tank of Ebelstein. We will meet again, Derek promises. He addresses her one last time. Miss. And then, he is gone. The carriage wheels screech to a halt in the heart of Ebelstein's market district. Derek shoved the heavy tavern door open and walked straight into a riot. A blonde whirlwind was currently busy pummeling the daylights out of some poor, chubby kid. She clocked him instantly, screaming that Derek was finally back in town. He didn't say a word, just a ghost of a smile. He was home. With Dyla's training finally wrapped up, the prodigal mage had returned to his roots. The barkeep slammed a mug down. It wasn't the fancy tea Derek got used to at the estates, but it was his go-to honey wine. A welcome home gift. The boss insisted this round was on the house. Derek nodded his thanks, but the blonde was already in his face, squinting. Were you always this ghostly? She swore hanging out with aristocrats made him look even worse. She leaned in, demanding the tea on how he actually got those snobs to listen. She pressed for the real story, but Derek waved it off. Just another gig, nothing to write home about. She accused him of acting all high and mighty, convinced something major went down. The boss finally told Pauline to quit grilling him, but she wasn't having it. She whined that she'd nearly worked herself into an early grave running solo missions while he was gone. The owner chimed in, noting that thanks to her struggle, Derek must have raked in a massive pile of cash from the nobles. He asked if the kid at least got a fat payout. Derek shook his head. Better than gold. He slammed a heavy grimoire from the Grand Duke onto the table. The two of them stared at the cover, eyes popping out of their skulls. Is that a 2-star tome? They couldn't believe any noble would cough up something that precious. Derek corrected them coolly. Not 2, 3 stars. The owner immediately panicked, accusing him of swiping it. You'll lose your head for that. But Pauline's eyes lit up if theft got you 3-star loot. She was ready to start a life of crime, right now. She demanded the location, but Derek shut it down. No theft involved. He insisted the Grand Duke gifted it. They snorted like a noble would ever hand a treasure like that to a commoner. They accused him of picking up an aristocrat's ego, bragging like that. It took a solid hour to convince them he wasn't lying. Once they finally bought it, Derek shifted gears. Any new gigs come in? The boss blinked. You're taking a mission? You've been back for like 5 minutes. Derek shrugged. A simple pest control job would do, and he wanted to start yesterday. Too much luxury living made him feel rusty. He told the boss to chill, he needed this. Besides, mages were always a hot commodity. Derek asked him to line it up. As soon as possible, tomorrow morning would be perfect. The next morning, thanks to the captain's setup, Derek and Pauline headed out to hunt magical beasts. Without Derek, Pauline had been fighting for her life out there, barely scraping by as a solo archer. But with Derek back, Firepower wasn't an issue anymore. They crushed mission after mission. Pauline would crash the second they got back, totally wiped. Derek, though, he just kept going, finding a dark corner to study the 3-star spells. All that live combat was unlocking the secrets of the magic faster than any classroom could. Before, the power felt out of reach. Now, he was standing right on the doorstep of mastery. It was still a steep climb, but Derek didn't stop. He knew raw talent was garbage without the sweat to back it up. Time blurred. By the time Derek mastered the 2-star spells, the first frost of winter hit Eibelstein. One day, they dragged themselves back from a job, teeth chattering. Pauline was whining that the cold was basically illegal. How did it drop to freezing so fast? The captain just laughed, calling their youthful energy impressive. After all, they'd trekked all the way to the Kent Mountains in a blizzard. Pauline grumbled they hadn't signed up for hypothermia. She begged for heat before the next run. The captain tossed them steaming towels, and they scrubbed the monster blood off their frozen faces. "I almost died out there," Pauline announced. The captain told them to rest up, then dropped a bomb he had a lead. A gig tailor-made for Derek. Simple work, fat paycheck. But it was a little tricky. The Roher Mercs on West Street had already passed on it. The request came from Count Bamelda's estate. They needed a commoner mage for a very specific task. Sparring partner. Translation? They needed a human punching bag. As long as Derek could tank a few spells, he'd get paid. Easy money for a little pain. What Derek didn't know was that the client was Allant, someone Iceline knew all too well. Across town, Allant asked, "So, who's the target dummy today?" To test drive her lethal new offensive spells, her mentor had hand-picked a live target, a commoner. Elaine scoffed. Did she seriously travel all the way south, just for this? Just to bully some random peasant with high-tier magic? Her teacher shot back that real combat needs living, breathing opponents. Besides, the guy was getting a fat paycheck for his trouble. That meant the gloves were off. With a dramatic sigh, she finally accepted her aristocratic burden. Time to absolutely wreck a nobody. It's not bullying if they fight back, her master chided, correcting the narrative. This wasn't just any civilian. The recruit was a bona fide 1-star mage, so he wasn't totally helpless. But Elaine rolled her eyes. She was knocking on the door of 2-star status. In the world of magic, that gap is an entire ocean. Her teacher cut her off with a lesson on the warrior's code. If you respect the duel, you'll hit him with everything you've got. No mercy. Moments later, the stage was set. Elaine locked eyes with her prey. Her jaw tightened. He looked like a high schooler. This kid? You seriously want me to spar with him? Derek straightened his posture, offered a respectful bow, and dropped his name with quiet confidence. That name triggered a flicker in Elaine's memory major déjà vu, but she couldn't place it. Before she could dwell on it, they were ushered onto the dueling platform. You know how this works, right? Duel etiquette? Elaine pressed. Derek shrugged, keeping it low-key. Heard of it, but I'm pretty green on the details. Elaine sighed, feeling generous. Just put up a shield or something. I'll make this quick and painless. She wasn't a sadist. Beating up weaklings wasn't her vibe. The plan? One heavy shockwave to blast him out of bounds instantly. Then Derek threw a curveball. Define resist. Like, how hard am I allowed to push back? Elaine blinked, totally thrown off by the audacity. He clarified with a straight face. I just want to be useful training material. To be worthy of your time, how far should I go? In the background, the teacher facepalmed at the kid's awkward phrasing. But Elaine? She actually let out a sharp laugh. Are you trying to be funny? She smirked, amused by his guts. I told you, kid, give me everything you have. Don't hold back. Understood. Your wish is my command. Derek's eyes sharpened, and suddenly, a terrifying amount of raw mana started swirling in his palm.